What is going on, guys? Coming back with another Monsters and Memories video. This time we are talking about the upcoming September 1st alpha playtest. This one is 7 days long. It starts in just 4 days from when I post this video. Today's going to be a long form talking video, lots of talking. I'm gonna verbally read out the patch notes, so you know, if you want to just throw in an earbud while you're at work, maybe listen to it during the commute to work, or throw it on a second monitor or something, feel free. If you want to take the time to take a slower look and read everything yourself, we will have a link down in the description, so you can take your time and look over the notes yourself. But let's go ahead and get started. This may be a long one. There's a lot of notes here. So we're starting out with some tech. Additions. The ledger has been rebuilt and will function locally only. Only character ledger is active at this time. From what I remember, the character ledger, you know, kind of tells you your, your faction and stuff like that. So, has been rebuilt. Quality of life harvesting with the appropriate harvesting bag in your inventory will now result in items automatically sorting into that bag first. That's very cool. Character list reorder. You can now reorder your characters during selection. This order will save you. This order will not save until you enter the world. Pretty good. New chat command /trade off or /trade on. If you find you don't want to accept trades by accident or on purpose, you can choose to disable your trades with this command. Additionally, you can type /trade with no arguments to initiate a trade. Maybe just target the person, type /trade. The ability bar now has the option to lock abilities. This prevents you from accidentally right-clicking and removing the memorization of an ability. That's super cool. I do that all the time. You can now scribe scrolls automatically by right-clicking them from your inventory. That's huge. I like it. Targeting logic improvements with /target and /assist. Show the level of the hardcore character that died as part of the message. Kinda didn't realize that wasn't happening already. Because I didn't pay that close of attention. There's not tons of hardcore people quite yet. I mean, there never really will be, probably. Hardcore's niche within a niche, huh? Show the level of, notify players about the ability to set a surname upon reaching level 20. Just remind people who may not know. Added description to note if a scroll's ability is already scribed in one of your books. That's cool, so you don't accidentally buy additional copies of the same spell. I do that in EverQuest all the time. Add /whot alias to /whotarget. Just a shortened version. Add who option to the unit frame, right-click context menu. Okay, just some more UI stuff there. Send a fail message when attempting to use an unequipped clicky item that requires it to be equipped. Nice. Added support for buffs to have a chance to break upon movement. Implement pet passive mode. Pet will continue to follow the previous position command, stay/follow, whichever, but will no longer retaliate against mobs that attack it or the pet's owner. That's really cool, because spamming back as, you know, things are getting hit, or you're trying to pull your pet back before ads come in, and it just keeps turning around because it keeps getting hit. That could be super annoying and deadly. Includes a pet controls UI button to swap the pet back and forth between defensive, existing, and passive new combat modes. So the passive button now. UI. User interface. You know how some levels take really long? Well, there might be an indication of that now. So hell levels, I suppose. We're going to be informed that we are in a hell level. Winky face. Surnames are now limited to 15 characters. This is the same length as first names. Not sure what it was previously. I've seen some long ones though, so I think it was much longer. You can now toggle between looking for more and looking for group in the Group Finder tab of the social window. That's good, because I actually was a little bit confused on some groups, or I had thought to myself that that would be a good addition in the last playtest. Updates to ability bar. There is now a rotation icon to change the ability bar to 2 additional looks, including a horizontal look. Additionally, there is a new context menu option to hide the ability bar name and the spell book on the ability bar. Sorry, there was so many ability words. I did post, if you look at the community posts, I have a picture of kind of like a sneak peek of when this was being displayed. It could be different by now, but that was like maybe a week or so ago, 2 weeks maybe. The ability/spellbook ability bar and command block is now scalable. More UI fixes here. A lot of complaints about the UI. I'm not a big UI guy, I've realized. You know, I don't know why it took this long to dawn on me, but in most games, I just accept the UI for how it is. But I've noticed people are very, very picky with UIs. I don't know why it took me so long to realize that I'm in the minority, that I just kind of don't care all that much. I just learned to deal with it, I guess. I mean, you know, obviously there are some things to nitpick if they're inconvenient, but just overall, I mean. Login campfire button moved next to settings. Login character list look update. There's now an attack button located in the command block at the top. New resize function. Resizing now works by hovering your mouse over the edge of the bar, which has resizing enabled, like you would normally in Windows. Okay. Guild registrar look update. Trade no longer closes or opens with your character sheet / inventory window. Okay, so it's by itself. The main chat is now defaulted to always chat here when a new chat config is created. The context, I'm waiting for those tabs. I know they're very busy. I mentioned it in a couple of live, I think maybe 2 live streams ago, to Shawn. He said they're just, you know, they're actually gonna implement it. So I guess, I don't know if this is news or not to anybody, but they are going to implement tabs on the chat box. They just need some time to get it going. They're doing so much, as you'll see with these extensive notes, and there's only so much that they could fit in each update, right? But that is something they want to do, and they are working on it. The main, I already said that. The context menu option to lock has been renamed to lock move. More specific, you can now right-click on a target frame for another player or an NPC to initiate trade. Nice, that's probably the route I'll go. Crafting bags and stations UI will now expand to ensure the full visibility of any recipe you can craft is visible. Added horizontal cooldown time display to the ability bar and radial cooldown displays when collapsed. I think it's to go along with the new horizontal bar. So now we have some fixes. Looks like they may be related to UI as well. Various small UI updates to fitting text. Oh yeah, remember that one? Where you couldn't scroll down in the text box all the way? I think that might be that. Group listings will now automatically delist if you join another group. Group listings will now automatically refresh when the Group Finder tab is selected. Server announcement pop-up updated with new look. You will now get a pop-up message when you scribe a spell that is too high to cast or not your class. I did not realize you can scribe spells that are not for your class. But if you scribe a spell that's too high, I did know that, but now you'll get a message. Feign Death synchronization fix. Mouse input major improvement. You should no longer accidentally target yourself when clicking between LMB and RMB. The mouse graphic will no longer jump to the middle of the screen. Message fading fixed. Another attempt to fix chat scrolling issues. There it is. Okay, so we'll see. It was another attempt though, so this one's a little less certain. Hopefully it works. But I mean, if you are having the issue, what I was doing to fix it is, and yeah, this is annoying, but I was making the chat box bigger and then scrolling down and then resizing it back to small. That seemed to be like a fix for it. which is better than just leaving it to where you can't get all the way to the bottom, right? Obviously not ideal, but that's what I was doing. Chat caret overlap issue fixed. Split stack panel will no longer appear outside the viewable area of the screen. Character specific data loading bug fix. Pet window reload fix. Double click door fix, possibly needs additional improvements. Stall signs are now limited to 55 characters, probably good. There was some outrageously large, I mean, if you saw any of the stalls, like, you know, it'd have, like, the player could put messages like, sell me this, sell me that, but if they put too much stuff, or if they were trolling, they can get it all the way up the wall, out of the box. Fix NPC pets do not engage if player pets are sent in at master. I didn't experience that. Fix the client's target getting desynced with the server when using Hymn of the Dead. Fix Bard Song already in progress not being interrupted by Mez or Stun. Fixed cast bars of a target client animating too fast. Fixed cast bar from animating at faster speeds when started multiple times. Fixed sending multiple begin casting packets for client casts. It's probably going to help lag or something. Fixed begin casting animations not playing. Fixed not showing the correct required level for some clicky items. Fixed the ability. I'm just going to stop saying fix. There's a lot of fixes coming. Ability book tabs not updating when transferring a spellbook to and from the bank using right-click auto transfer. Handling your pet no-drop items. Return unwanted to the client. Sending more position update packets than needed. Fix quick yo-yoing of client position from perspective of other clients when client teleports. Emotes like /wave to a player name when that is not visible to you. Fix some clicky items ignoring the required level. Some enemies tagged to be immune to snare and root, not respecting those immunities. Fix a client memory leak related to model loading. Slightly lowered the minimum and maximum swim speed. Fix mob skating when they attempt to attack and move at the same time. Better blending between walk and run animations. Prevent mobs T-posing when viewed at a distance. Oh, okay. That's cool. Prevent swimming mobs from clipping through terrain. Bind vision should now apply properly to non-pet NPCs. Updated air pet and goblin name generation. Fixed several server-side memory leaks. So that's like the third or fourth memory leak situation. So I think all of these put together, you know, will be pretty good impact. It looks like there's more maybe. Reverted some changes to inputs that could have caused input loss at high FPS. Fixed animation leaking when near another player of the same race. Stealth entities will now correctly vanish when C-Invis buff fades. You will no longer consider hostile pets to be a comrade. The visible bounds of lightning strikes has been increased, preventing them from disappearing when you turn. Dots and pet attacks will no longer re-aggro while you are feign death. Pets will once again gain a benefit from using weapons better than their intrinsic damage/delay. That's good. I wonder what their intrinsic damage/delay. I mean, obviously it's going to depend on what level they are and what class you may be. But I don't know where you're going to figure that information out, whether or not it's, you know, beneficial to give them weapons or not. Infravision and Ultravision now coexist peacefully with the Gamma Slider and have had a tuning pass. I wonder if that means that the passive ability at character select works now. Do not give PvP corpse looting rights if the killing blow was from an NPC. Imagine that. You die to an NPC and then some dude just walks up and loots you. Players, player pets, and NPC pets will still result in PvP looting rights being assigned. NPC pets though, huh? Maybe I don't understand something there. Fix exploit related to attacking another player's pet and causing that player, their pet, to get aggro from nearby guards. You just attack somebody and their pet retaliates and therefore the guards attack and kill you. Pretty funny. That's Troll City. Animation. Reworked the way strafing is animated to be snappier and keep the character more forward focused. Combat animations can now be seen from further away. That goes in line with the T posing. So basically, you know, the distance is going to look a lot better. You know, it might be a little more demanding on your PC, maybe. Design, content. Scarwood Zone is now open. New zone, and that's the one that Shawn has been doing with the community through Twitch. If you showed up to any of the Twitch streams for the past several months, he's been building a zone with, you know, with the community live on stream, with input from the community and stuff like that. So it's going to be now open. Evershade Weald and City of Faelindral, I'll just go with that, are now more fleshed out. I did see some of this, some of the work on this and some of the live streams. The NPCs aren't on the ground anymore. They're up in the city, I believe. And the lifts are working properly, and more of the vendors and everything. So it should just be more, like it says, more fleshed out. So definitely, at the very least, create a level 1 Wood Elf. For multiple reasons. I think they'll probably mention it further in here. I got a little sneak peek into the patch notes because I've been watching all the streams and everything. But there's a few reasons you're going to want to make a level 1 Wood Elf. One of them being, right here, you could at least explore the city and check it out. That would be very cool. We'll get to the other one whenever they get to it, and if they don't, I'll say something. Shaded Bloom in Cellar respawn timer reduced. Okay. Glass Flats spawner adjustments. Various faction adjustments. A Plagueborn Defiler is now assigned the proper ability list. High Lord Fairwind Nyx encounter balance adjustments. A lot of these things, you know, are only going to apply to certain people who experience the content so far. You know, a lot of people might still be hanging out in like the newbie zone or maybe one zone over, and some of these might be coming out of the dungeon or coming out of the level 20 zone or something like that. Just something to keep in mind. There are some class-specific changes to all the classes and stuff, so we'll get to that whenever we get to that. Skyseer Ilia level locked to 25. Guardian of the Life font balance adjustments. I've likely put in chapters as well, so you can skip around. Guardian of the Life font level locked to 40 max. Added new items, quests, and encounters in Shallow Shoals, so fleshing out Shallow Shoals as a zone. That one looked really cool when I took the boat through there. So now you can level there. I'm not sure what the level of the zone is. Probably higher than I am. Additions to Glass Flats population, more lively. You can now fish in Shallow Shoals. Night Harbor's Westgate, Northgate, and Necropolis yards should be improved in regards to NPCs spawning or being stuck in geography. That's huge. There was a lot of geography sticking in the last playtest. The ledge near the Fallen Pass and Vale of Zintar border is now accessible. Okay. Boat pathing was updated to account for ocean boundary and facade changes. The boat no longer collides with the dock in Keeper's Bight and will now properly dock in Shallow Shoals on the return trip. I did put out a video that's just ambiance of me cruising on the boat. It's like almost an hour trip, round trip. Or it is an hour, something like that. About an hour round trip, and so I know maybe a lot of people didn't get around to doing it. So I put out a video of it, but in the video you can see when you get to the end, you kind of make a U-turn and you get stuck. You clip into the dock there. So apparently they fixed that. The Crypt Broodmother is infested Oh, the Crypt Broodmother in Infested Crypt should now be less confusing. You now cannot interact with her when she is up in her lair. Shallow Shoals population updates. Okay. The zones are filling out. Fix to prevent repeating steps of the Beast Lord quest, the Beast Master, sorry. Multiple quests added to Shallow Shoals. Yeah, Shallow Shoals is filling out. We got some balance. Several, and again, these are in regards to design, so balance, design balance. Several armor and weapon drops have now been upgraded to reflect their rarity. Several items have had their class list updated. Ooh, make sure to take a look at that. You may be able to wear something that you couldn't before, or maybe you'll be wearing something that you're not allowed to wear. Definitely check that out. A bug that allowed players to buy free skill ups from trainers at the end game has been fixed. Ooh. A bug that allowed players to spam abilities and obtain skill ups from invalid targets has been fixed. Itemization. Reduce the weight of metal scraps. Huge. Reduce the weight of pelts. Huge. Weight was a huge issue for me because I wear full plate on my paladin. Spider drops are now tiered. Wood is now tiered. Resin is now tiered. Meaning there's multiple versions of these. Not just resin, wood. There's going to be multiple versions, kind of like the ore. How there's copper ore, tin ore, iron ore, so on and so forth. Fixed an issue where corrupted Ashira were no longer itemized. Various itemization balance adjustments. Volatile Rift Potion now properly applies the gate effect. Okay, so it looks like you're casting the spell of gate when you use the potion. I'm too much of a poor boy to afford those potions. Humanoids will now occasionally drop gems. Interesting. Several flavors of large bat will now drop more bat parts. Leather, chain, and plate armor weight has been reduced. Huge. Even as like a strength-based class, a paladin, dwarf, putting on my full plate, I am just like, already I got like 20 pounds to my name like after my gear. It's crazy. And then the bags weigh, and then the coins weigh. Coin weights have been reduced. Huge. Favor of the Queen has had an update and is now functional. Itemization pass for Pirate Island in Shallow Shoals. Not sure what that is, but that sounds awesome. I want to go there. Anybody in the comments, let me know. What level range is Shallow Shoals? Do I got any hope in me of getting there someday before the wipe? Or do I got to wait till early access? Let me know. Tradeskills. Mining. Stone is now tiered. Copper nodes have brittle stone. Tin and silver nodes have jagged stone. Iron and gold nodes have weighty stone. Coal and platinum nodes have rigid stone. Mithril, cobalt, and adamantium nodes have thick stone. Very much like World of Warcraft. Nothing like EverQuest to those guys. Blacksmithing, sharpening stones. What? Sharpening stones, that's it? Oh, there's just an additional bullet point. Sharpening stones are now tiered based on the above stones. Okay. Okay, so now sharpening stones, you got the brittle sharpening stone, jagged sharpening stone, weighty sharpening stone, so on and so forth. Now can be manually applied to your weapon instead of a buff. Okay. Sharpening stones will be converted to brittle sharpening stones, so any sharpening stones you currently have will just automatically be brittle. Added weight stones added. Okay, so the weight stones are likely going to be used for blunt weapons, whereas sharpening stones will be used for sharp weapons. But you'll like, so I don't know, the weight stones, you might have to use like leather scraps with those or something. Who knows how that'll, I wonder what the recipe will be. You might have to also use a leather scrap or a cloth scrap or something. I might just be making shit up. Tarnished weapons no longer use the old generic sharpening stones as a component. Now uses a sharpening stone of the tier which corresponds with the tier of rusty/corroded weapon you are trying to upgrade as a component. Okay, so you know it's in line with tiers. Tiers are happening. The game is filling out. Horizontal progression. Carpentry added new recipes. Enchanting, disenchanting added. Okay, that's interesting. We need to research that. You know, you could have any amount of trade skills. So we got to figure that out. Start disenchanting gear instead of scrapping it, perhaps. Herbalism, added new herbs. Woodworking, added new recipes. Masonry, grinding wheel added. Added recipes for dressing stones for each tier of the stone for furniture and other stone craftable placeables. Okay, you got a rhinestone chair or something. Pottery, added pottery wheel. Alchemy, cooking. Placeholder recipes for paint creation. Ooh. New carpentry adjustment recipe for alchemy. New carpentry adjacent recipes added for alchemy. Tenacity potion removed. Not sure what that did. Also, let me know if you want. If you know what that did, let me know. Added new alchemy recipes. Traits. Medicine now grants bind wounds skill up and skill up rate. Added minor non-combat trait bookworm. Added minor non-combat trait stonecutter. Added minor non-combat trait stonemason. And non-combat trait disenchanter. So okay. So these traits are just going to boost your, they're going to start you out with like a 25 skill bonus and maybe a trait specific bag or something like that. Like the disenchanter might get like a disenchanting materials bag or something like that. Added goblin specific major combat trait bribe. Added human specific major combat trait tenacity. Maybe I can learn what the tenacity potion did by looking at what that trait does. Added ogre specific major combat trait ogre smash. Nice. Added wood elf specific major combat trait hide. Incredible. That's probably going to be super useful. That when that giant starts walking by you in the dunes, click hide. Hopefully he'll pass you by and he's not too high and just smashes you anyways. Slippery is now gnome specific, a la World of Warcraft. Hardiness is now deep dwarf specific. Deep dwarf specific. General abilities. A vast majority of detrimental buffs now show your ability has worn off message when fading. Huge. Bind wound. Cast time reduced from 10 seconds to 4 seconds. That's massive. 250% reduction. Required level of various bandages tiers adjusted. Bind wound may now be used while sitting. All of those are massive. Bind wound just became huge. Regeneration line. Cast time set to 5 seconds. Not sure what it was before. Fixed an issue, maybe they were variable and they just kind of leveled it. Fixed an issue where some interrupts, silences would last indefinitely. Several abilities that summon items, such as summon food, drink, bandages, now scale quantity with level. Now that is like World of Warcraft as well, and not like EverQuest. EverQuest, you got freaking 1 per cast, if I remember correctly. Whereas World of Warcraft, as you level up, you get more. Fix an issue where resurrection spells could be cast while moving. Now that's interesting. All right, placate ability line. Uh-oh. Placate now has a higher chance to fail and cause aggro. No! I use that a lot on my pally. Expanded line with abilities. Appease, conciliate, and propitiate. Okay. I'm not sure what ability line that is. The cast particles of various instant cast abilities no longer persist indefinitely. Unholy Bulwark now applies soul exhaustion. I have an idea of what that means. Move speed buffs no longer affect your speed while walking, crouching, or climbing. So only when you're running. So you can still slow yourself down to a halt if you need to without removing your buff. Standard healing line rebalance. Ooh, here goes the spicy stuff for you non-cleric healers out there. Let's see. They talked about nerfing the crap out of, in Nick's stream that he did a couple weeks ago, or right after the last playtest, talked about nerfing shamans and druids so that the clerics reign supreme. Because shamans and clerics have so many other, shamans and druids have so many other abilities and whatnot. Standard healing line rebalanced. Minor heal. Healing amount reduced from 12 to 10. Minor heal, mana cost reduced from 10 to 8. Lesser heal, mana cost reduced from 25 to 20. Heal, healing amount increased from 65 to 70. Mana cost increased from 35 to 40. Greater heal, healing amount increased from 300 to 325. Mana cost increased from 120 to 150. Exceptional heal, healing amount decreased from 700 to 600. Mana cost increased from 200 to 230. So what it seems like here is it's not necessarily getting a full nerf. It's like you heal less, but it costs less. Or in some cases you heal more, but it costs more. But likely the heal per mana is probably the same or similar. So it's not like, you know, you're getting dumpstered or anything. You have to heal more to get the same result. Archer, which is good. I mean, groups were kind of insane. We talked about this in a previous video. Groups were kind of insane. Groups needed to have a little bit more of a difficult time in dungeons for sure. Now we're on to the class changes here. Class updates, let's see. Archer, updated ability icons. Exposing shot is now a martial ability. That makes sense. Fixed an issue where some might abilities were set to archery. Added ability flurry of arrows. Okay. Bards. Fixed an issue where somniferous serenade did not have a PvP duration. Oh, okay, so it was going on too long. You were just schooling people with it, and there's nothing they could do about it. Fixed an issue where cacophonic vocalization had a 14-second cooldown instead of a 12-second cooldown. Beastmasters. Added ability Rat Pack. Druids. You had to go in there and figure out what these do in some cases. Sometimes you can just know what it does, and sometimes you're like, I gotta go see what that is. Druids. Touch of Healing line. No longer stacks with multiple druids. Touch of Life, Harmony, and Creation healing reduced. Touch of Life, 300 down to 230. Massive reduction. 300 down to 230. Touch of Harmony, 600 down to 320. Massive. And Touch of Creation, 900 down to 450. That is a 50% reduction. Touch of Life, Harmony, and Creation heal over time reduced. Touch of Life, 150 down to 115. Touch of Harmony, 300 down to 160. And Touch of Creation, 450 down to 225. They all received the same reductions, it seems, where the last one is a 50% reduction. A little less for Harmony, a little less for Life. Mana cost reduction to maintain old HPM ratios. There it is. So the mana cost reduction to the said spells to maintain the same healing per mana. So it's not necessarily... It's not less efficient. Same efficiency. You just have to try harder, really. You know, you can't just be a god in the group. Touch of Life, 195 down to 150. Touch of Harmony, 330 down to 175. Touch of Creation, 500 down to 225. Those are the manas, by the way. Added ability Wolf Pack. So it's probably similar to Rat Pack. And they're both probably a group speed buff, run speed buff or something. Probably. If you know, let me know. That, I mean, maybe not, right? Wolf Pack, that, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Rat Pack and Wolf Pack, maybe it transforms the group, you know, it wargs them out. Like in EverQuest, you can turn people into wolf. And I know that they're trying to add, what do you call it? Morphing or whatever, animorphs to the Beastmaster. The word is, I've been trying to think of it for freaking 5 minutes now. I can't think of it, so we're just gonna move on. Fixed an issue where the Grip of Nature's self buff was considered a detrimental buff and could also be resisted. Weird. All right, Elementalists. Spell haste moved from Air Pet Aura to Fire Pet Aura. Okay. Air Pet Aura to Fire Pet Aura. Summon Cloth Bandages now has an ability icon. Fixed an issue where Master of Elements, air, was proccing the wrong effect. Fixed an issue where Earthen Skin was castable on others. Enchanters. Added ability Enlightenment. Enchant ally will now break its connection when the caster charms a target. It's crazy that it didn't. Was likely just a bug. Inquisitors. Silence duration increased from 4 to 5 seconds. Aura of Resistance renamed to Aura of Resistance from Aura of Magic Resistance. Okay. So it was Aura of Magic Resistance, it's now just Aura of Resistance. Now additionally grants 2 to 30 Cold Fire, Corruption, and Holy Resistances to your group in addition to Magic Resistance. So now it's Resist All. Anywhere from 2 to 30. So 2 at level 1, 30 at level 60. So it starts at level 2, and it probably gains 1 every 2 levels, something like that. Updated tooltip updated to indicate that the Aura of Resistance also grants 5% magic damage reduction to your group. Nice. It's a pretty big buff. Pretty good buff for Inquisitor. They need it. Added ability, wait for it, Psychic Choke. The Darth Vader dream is real. They did say that they had, you know, like a Darth Vader vibe when creating the Inquisitor class. So I think there's going to be a lot of it. Okay, remember how we check out the stats of the playtests, and we see what classes are made how many times and how often they're played. Inquisitors are always at the bottom every time. Watch Inquisitors spike a bit. Remember this. Remember, we're going to check on that after the playtest, so in about, I don't know, 10 days from now. Probably 2 weeks from now. Ranger added the ability True Strike. Rogue added ability Fury of the Assassin. Shadow Knight fixed an issue where Grip of Agony was still partially resistible. Shaman. Healing Spores line, no longer stackable with multiple Shamans, same thing as the Druids. A Restorative Spores, Regeneration Spores, and Chloroplastic Spores heal over time reduced. Restorative, 150 down to 115. Regenerative, 300 down to 160. And Chloroplastic, 450 down to 225. Seems to be in line with the Druid nerfs we saw. Mana cost reduced to maintain old healing per mana ratios. 195 to 150, 330 to 175, and 500 to 225 respectively. Spore Discharge heal over time reduced from 10 to 600 to 10 to 225 based on your level. Wizards added port abilities to Veil of Zintar, Veil of Zintar Gate, Veil of Zintar Portal, and Evacuation Veil of Zintar. Lure lines, negative resist modifiers disabled. Ice Bolt line, fixed an issue where Freezing Bolt had a longer duration than expected. Cast time progression per ability changed from 1.5 seconds to 2 to 2.5 to 3. Ice Bolt damage increased to 40. Freezing Bolt damage increased to 120. Chilling Bolt damage increased to 285. New sound effects and visual effects added already. Wasn't expecting this. Was hearing sound effects are likely, visual effects are likely not in. Sound effects were being worked on. He did say that sound effects, you know, when they make requests, they get done quickly. They just hired the VFX guy, but we've already added some to the wizard. I know this was like the first one requested though. So you can expect in the next and final playtest in November to have a lot of SFX and VFX additions in that playtest, the 10-day in November. Electric Shock Line. Fixed issue where the cast times were not set to their expected values. All right, so finishing it off. This was a long one, 40 minutes. Let's finish it off here. Character art. This is huge. This is the other part I was talking about. Wood Elf player models reworked. So the Wood Elf player models got a big reworking. Make sure to make Wood Elf, check out the city, and check out the reworking. Spoiler alert, it's their ears. Remember how they stuck out long and skinny? They're now more in line with traditional elf ears, if you would, something you're kind of used to. Major pass on model UVs. Polished up player character face textures. Watched a lot of this between Zach, Zbrushed, and Zukan. Watching their streams, they did a lot of touching up on all the different races and their faces and stuff like that, so that's going to be live in this update. Fixed Ashira backpack mounting point. Adjusted red ghost shader. I missed this. Added some new player character face textures, so I missed that one. Added colliders on human male and tried to prevent cape from clipping. Adjusted gnome and dwarf nameplate height. Likely lowered it. Environment. Zones with oceans in them now have boundaries, and many have had facade additions or improvements. Patches to the ocean floor have been added where missing in Shades of Dune, Fallen Pass, and Keeper's Bite. Water volumes have now been added where missing in Fallen Pass, Shallow Shoals, and Keeper's Bite. A malfunctioning lift has been fixed, and all lifts in Phalandraw can now only be summoned if they are finished moving and unloading. Remember that in Kelethin? That'd be annoying when you're trying to go up the lift and, you know, you're having a tug-of-war. Occlusion-related issues with secret areas was fixed in Night Harbor. Targeting and aggro issues fixed related to post-processing volumes in Glass Flats, Night Harbor, and Vale of Zintar. Evershade Wield updates. So that's going to wrap it up. This is what you can be expecting in 4 days from the time I posted this video. Not sure when you're watching it, but something to get hyped for. It's a 7-day playtest starting September 1st in just 4 days from now. I will see you all there. And until then, I will see you in the next video.